Hi, I'm Divine Kika. I help you to master your self awareness and your sexuality so you can live a life of love, power, awareness, and freedom. And I'm very excited because finally science now can back up everything that I teach. And I'm here with Dr. Juan Acosta Urquidi, who does EEG measurement. And tell me a little more about who you are.
Yes, hi. Well, it's been delightful to meet Kika and to work with her. Uh, Over the past years, I've been collecting data on altered states of consciousness, including meditation and a few Kundalini activations from subjects that I encountered at a Vedic temple. So we had a very successful session recording Kika's EEG during a Kundalini
That was
activation,
fun.
and we have some data to share. Um, I'm a EEG scientist now. I have a PhD. I did a lot of work in electrophysiology in the laboratory. My degree is in neurophysiology, and I've become interested in the brain-mind conversation. So, and I sort of have a niche where I've been studying altered states of consciousness and getting the EEG correlates.
Isn't that amazing, guys? So he told me he has worked with monks, swamis, gurus, people that have been studied over meditating and living the path of self-awareness for over 20 years, 30 years. And he has a lot of data to compare from all these people. That's what makes work with him so exciting. And, and he came to my life as a gift, like totally. And some of my friends have been measured by him, and like he does this beautiful work that actually shows that what we are doing is actually creating an impact in who we are and who we are being to others and everything around us, which is what I've been saying for over 15 years, and now he has data to show. So what we did is we got myself in these different states of Kundalini through the breath work and a lot of the tantric meditations and all the different things that I have been teaching and learning over the years. And he found some interesting things in my brain that at first I was
Indeed.
really excited, like scared actually, because I'm like, oh my god, am I an alien or what's so tell us about what you found in my brain.
Okay, I'll just add a little bit of this. So I give presentations at conferences, international conferences, and one of them is called EEG Studies of Healers, Mystics, and Shamans. I've also had the pleasure to work with some real shamans in the field. Um, so this is science and spirituality. This is at the interface, which is what makes it unique and interesting. And it's
This is the new age.
a
That's where we
treat
are doing it.
to be with a very spiritual being here, Kika. And so we're gonna review some of the findings for you, and we have some video that shows her in the state of activation, and then I'm going to show you some of the readings from the EEG study.
So the exciting thing that you're seeing this little video looping in there, that I was having a Kundalini experience, that I can trigger it through meditating, just connecting with my spiritual teachers, especially Nityananda or other spiritual teachers, or with my divine self, with the cosmos itself. And then there is like a shower of energy vibration that comes from the top of my head all the way down. There is also another way that I can trigger it, which is doing some of the Qigong practices where I loop my energy and I do special breathing. But the one that was most exciting that you said is when I do the Kundalini breathing in the tantric way, where I energize and awake each one of my energy centers, my chakras, and I bring that energy up, and then I get into this Kundalini state. What is Kundalini? Kundalini is when the energy gets so high that every block, every tension, every part of your being dissolves, and you come to be pure awareness. with that, sometimes people experience crazy things. For me, it's like a lightning bulb that shakes, and every part of my being is in this shaking. And sometimes it's happened in conversation, something is not okay, and then it goes, because my awareness, my being is being shifted. And so he was able to film it and measure it, and it's very exciting because it was almost like a private thing. It can happen through tantric sexual practices too, but this particular thing that we measured mostly was through breath work and tantric breath work.
That's right. So in this case, that was the trigger that elicited this type of activity. And we were very fortunate to do these EEG recordings in her room, in her treatment room, where she felt perfectly at home and comfortable. And she had the energy there of her masters and teachers. So my job was to get the readings, to get good, clean EEG that we can then interpret, analyze, and understand what's going on. So uh, I think that you've shared beautifully the state that you get into. Tell us a little bit about the bottom left picture of you with that beautiful laughter. What's going on there?
So after the Kundalini, it's like this beautiful, blissful state, which, I think that's our natural state, but we are covered with so much of the mind, of our to-do list or whatever. We are covered up with stuff that we don't need, and then we forget about our bliss. And when this Kundalini showers come, I just go to this. It's pure bliss. It's just sometimes I cry just to feel it. Right now, I have a little bit of goosebumps, and it's this pure awareness, pure joy, one with everything. It is oneness. It is bliss. It is joy. It's just pure, pure bliss. I think
that's beautiful. That's a very precise description. I've heard many other descriptions of it, but it shows in your body language, in the energy that you radiate. So it was a joy to work with Kika.
I was wondering what it's like to watch me doing all of that and being
I feel very, very blessed that I came in contact with this wonderful teacher. So let's move into a little bit of the science now, and I'm going to just review some of the records that I recorded. And these are screenshots right off the computer screen. Okay, so you always start by first recording a baseline. So you want to know what the EEG signature is like before the treatment, or in this case, the activity. Mm-hmm. So what we see here is a selection of raw data on the left, 19 channels. This is a 1020 international system wearing an electro cap. And breathing. Kika has a predominant signature consisting of delta and theta waves. So most of her energy is in the low frequencies, below 7 hertz, with a small alpha peak indicated by this little peak here. So once we have a nice baseline.
So that was my normal state.
This is her just resting eyes closed state. Now we have her doing meditation. And as you can see, there's very little difference between the baseline eyes closed resting shown here and her meditation. This suggests to me that her default state is already meditation. That
I'm living meditation.
That she lives in meditation. Now, what is clear from this chart here is that her theta is a little bit more organized, more coherent. At the top here, we see some multiple peaks that are sort of scattered. And then here they're all unified
Ah,
at around
comes
6
slow.
hertz. Yes. All right, now we're going to show some examples of Kundalini activation. So there's movement involved, which of course creates some movement artifact. But if you analyze the data carefully and you scale down the gain on the amplifier, you can see some signals embedded in all of the what looks like a storm of activity. So the first thing that stands out is that you have to look at millivolt range amplitudes. The voltages are so high that they now move into millivolts instead of microvolts, which is what you usually have your amplifier set at when you're doing conventional EEG. So here we have a period of a very large deflection followed by what looks like spike wave type activity, and then there's a burst of higher frequencies here and here, not in all channels, but mostly in temporal channels and frontal channels. And then some of this over here is artifact, is movement artifact. But it is this activity which to me is fascinating.
Tell me.
Okay, so here's at a lower intensity, and just looking at what sites. Here's a central site. This is a temporal site. Now, what you see here, the frequency analysis, this is an FFT, power frequency spectrum. So now we're looking at the frequency domain. The y-axis is power, amplitude squared, and on the x-axis we have frequencies. You see peaks in the theta and also moving into the beta range, up to high beta. And we have some more clear examples shown here. So this is right at the boundary, the top peak of delta theta, and then we have a very nice clear theta peak here, a smaller one. Then we have some in the alpha range now, and then multiple peaks all the way up to 30 hertz. Now, I will analyze it to higher frequencies, and it's very likely that we're going to discover increased gamma there. But this is the type of discharge that I've been recording that looks to me very interesting. So it's as if her brain is receiving a high voltage charge and is just firing more than 12 cylinders. How many cylinders do you have?
Oh wow.
This out here is an artifact, but it's all of this here that is good.
Wow. So if somebody is having an epileptic attack, they have the same kind of thing?
There are some features that do look like seizures. Yes, in fact, the first time that I saw Kundalini activity under an EEG recording, it looked to me like a seizure. But what I was observing was that the subjects recovered very quickly. You know, they were moving around and sort of jumping and bouncing, but when it was over, they sat up straight, continued their meditation. They were aware of their surroundings. It was possible to engage them in a conversation. And so yes, they regained consciousness and an awareness of the space they were in and the surroundings. This is not something you typically see with somebody having a seizure.
I see. So that's the difference.
So that's the difference, yeah, and they recovered quickly. This one is just another example of this discharge of high frequency here. And these amplitudes are very high. They're in the millivolt range again, emphasizing that. Here's this. Uh, these are slow waves, and some of these are contributed by eye movement. So we have to be careful about analyzing that. They probably account for the large delta peak here. But this one here
Oh wow, that's
is
way higher now.
is physiologic. Yeah, this is an EEG correlate of a Kundalini activity. And I've seen
Wow.
this before, earlier studies. So this is very exciting. And of course, we want to increase our sample size, our N. I now have about 4 good quality recordings of Kundalini activations, and they share a lot of the same features. So it's looking good. It's looking like a replicable phenomenon. Here's a very clear example of these high frequency discharges now happening in many channels. I can feel Kika's already having a little bit of activity here next to me because she's starting to shake and she's rubbing on my shoulder. Uh, this is the high frequency discharge. You see, 10 hertz is here, 20 hertz, 30 hertz. So between 10 and 30, this is low, mid, and high beta. There's a lot of high voltage activity.
So when we
So
first
I call them bursts of high beta frequencies.
When we first started talking, he said, "Oh, we have a very abnormal brain," and I was like, "Do I have a problem?" No, that was just what he was trying to explain to me. That
Well, what I was impressed by was that her dominant spectrum is in the low frequencies, delta and theta, with a very small alpha. Now, I have seen this in some healers, and I have seen this in a Swami from India. So perhaps this is a higher state of consciousness, and more data is necessary to really reach that conclusion. But I'm certainly impressed by Kika's energy, and it's quite possible that she has attained that state.
That's such a beautiful.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that technology and science can now confirm what I've been, working on since I was 16 years old when I started with Osho meditations, and then now being in Nityananda's ashram and all the wonderful teachers that I had through my life, and years of meditation that now allow me to do this. But what I want you to understand through this video is that this is not a special skill that only I have. I can teach my students and clients to get to this state. It takes, in my experience, with very devoted students, it takes 6 weeks of intense training, and it's not more than 20 minutes a day of practice that will get people to do that. So it's a state of consciousness, it's a shifting being, it's a shifting life. But it's possible to be achieved. But what in my experience teaching people, some people they have more trauma or more to work through, and then it takes a little longer. But it varies, but usually 6 weeks of a devoted student, it's what it takes to achieve. And what does it do to your life? It's amazing, the results, because then you live a life from a different place. You can see more clear and feel everything around you in a completely different state. And that's what I can take people to. And that's why we are sharing this with people now, so they can understand that.
I can certainly vouch for that. Just being in the presence of Kika is joy. She exudes blissful, joyful, loving energy.
Thank you.
So
thank you, and I'm very grateful that I found one, and we plan to do a lot of work, helping people to find their energy and to really understand and align who they are with their higher vibration, the highest possibility for people. That's what we are connecting with, and it's our intention to bring to the world. So thank you guys for watching. If you want more information about Juan, I will have his site on the bottom on this link. And if you want more information about me, go to divinekika.com, divinekika.com. And his name is Juan Acosta Urquidi.
Yes.
And you can Google it. Juan is Juan. Acosta is Acosta. And then Urquidi is Urquidi. And if you Google him, you're going to find his website. What is your website?
Well, I have several. I have
the main one.
EnergyMedResearch.com.
Can you say it again?
Energy, MED, like medicine, med. Research.com.
Okay, and
yeah.
And I look forward to talk more with you about it. And
yes,
and if you need your EEG, he'll be more than happy to do that.
Yes,
if you need Kundalini, talking to me.
I've worked with many healers, and I've provided them with objective data on their skills. Also with meditation masters. I've had the fortune of working with Buddhist Tibetan masters, and some of them have used the EEG and put it up on their websites, or they give talks and they can demonstrate. So this is bringing science to spirituality.
We are bridging.
It's a beautiful mission.
We're bridging.
We are bridging.
We're bridging science and the hippies. And all the yogis and all of that. So we are bridging science and the Vedic knowledge. We are bridging by science and qigong and meditation and all the things that the people that are in the spiritual world have been talking about. Now science can back us up.
Can validate it. Yeah.
Can validate it.
That's exactly.
That is so beautiful.
That's our mission.
Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful day. Talk to you soon.